Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to walk you through my journaling notebook ecosystem. It is comprised of all this and actually a little bit more, but I've kind of categorized them, and I feel like we can take this kind of section by section. And so I'm going to move these and these, and we'll get to those later. Don't worry, they're coming back. But we're going to start with these three. So right now, my current system is comprised of the my B6 sterling ink. This is the half year sterling ink, and this is my everyday go-to planner. You guys have seen this a lot. This has my, months. In the beginning, I should say, it has things like the when did I last list. It has some goals that I set out at the beginning of the year. I tend to do my goals in, different areas. And then it has these trackers that I haven't been using very much. I did get through a little bit here in the beginning of the quarter, but I've fallen off of using the trackers. I don't really love the trackers where they are and how they are. They're a little bit too small to track what I really want to track. So anyway, you've seen my my monthly pages, and we've gone through and done these weekly pages. So on the monthly pages, I do this to keep track of like what's in general coming up for the month. What are the general activities of the day? Big things, things that I have tickets for or that are scheduled, those go in here. Things that I don't think are going to move. But also things like doctor's appointments, places that I need to make sure that I'm going to be. So when I fill out my week, I look at this monthly calendar and I look at what's written in here, and I will add those items to the week. So for example, in this week, this was the first week. We had Labor Day, and I had some interviews and doctor's appointments that my partner had that I had to keep track of. We had a concert, all kinds of stuff going on. In the beginning, I am only looking at it in this way, in these small little boxes. I never try to write more than what will fit in the box, because I find if I write more than what will fit in the box, that is usually too much to do in a single day. So that's how I kind of keep my day under control. If there's a time, I will often write a time. If it happens the same time all the time, like my friend Kim and I talk at the same time every Wednesday, I know when that is. I don't need to put a time in there. But anything that, maybe has a time associated with it, I will put the time in so that I know. This is the only thing that I have filled out going forward. So then the weeks, I do the weeks. If we look at, for example, this week, which we did in a plan with me, I will link up here, one side or the other. I think it's this side of the screen for you. We did a plan. I did a live plan with me, and I planned this whole thing on Sunday. So currently, my next week is blank. I do not fill this out until the Sunday beforehand, because too much is up in the air. Too much could change before that, in my opinion. For example, had I filled out all of August and then I got laid off, all my work blocks would have needed to be revised. So I don't do this until the day before the week. And that way I'm fairly certain I know what's going on that week for the most part. I often leave the weekends somewhat blank. I don't fill those in entirely because, things can change in here. I never know exactly what I'm going to do on the weekends. So I do that, and then I have in here I also have my Alistair method. So first I have I have created a day. The pages that I'm using for this were blank. They looked just like this. So it was just a blank grid page. I have done this for every single month, and I did it right behind the weekly pages. I have just the planned events. In this case, I had a lot of book clubs that I kind of wanted to go to because I'm doing a lot of reading anyway for the Magical Readathon. And I thought, well, why not read some book clubs or book club reads, and plan to attend a lot more book clubs this month and make it just a really fun book club month. I set some challenges, personal challenges for myself for YouTube for September. And so I have my YouTube videos there, and I just posted, it is Tuesday, and I just posted one for today. And this video will go up tomorrow. So you guys will see this on Wednesday. So as soon as I finish getting this all uploaded, I will make a little check mark there. Anyway, this is just kind of an overview of the month. And then we get into the weeks, and I do my Alistair method of kind of keeping track of the tasks for the week. And then after all of these, and I haven't filled out, I just filled out the colors for upcoming months just to make sure that I had enough pages. And then I have just little different things that, you know, whatever it is that I want to keep track of in here, and whatever I want to write. So you guys may have joined me for this when I was revisiting how I was going to kind of stay on my game this week. And that is, let's see, it's going well. I have been filling out job applications, and each one of these I did submit the resume for. So while we're on here and I'm looking at it, I will, because I applied to each of these from LinkedIn, within LinkedIn, and I sent my resume to all of them. I only got 5 today. I didn't find a 6th one, and my goal is to get 6, but I want them to be 6 quality jobs that I really want to do. I don't want it to be a job that I'm really not interested in. Anyway, I'm getting off track here, but this is where I would keep anything like this. It's temporary. I will likely refer back to it later, but I don't need it in a permanent collection. This is not permanent collection material. So this might be, let's see, in this case, it's notes on a video that I was watching, you know, journaling, a record of something that happened this year, which is this readathon here, which is going very well. I am several books in, but these are not, might be a recipe that I want to try, but I've never tried it before, so I don't necessarily know if it's good, so I'm not going to put it into a permanent place yet. I also have collections in the back of watch lists, reading lists. These pertain to this particular time period. I have the 25 things I'd like to do in 2025, and I'm tracking those kind of things, places to visit, all kinds of things back here. I keep a record of our date night activities. But anyway, that's where everything lives that I need to deal with right now. It all goes into this one book. This is the book that I'm looking at first for everything. Again, it is a sterling ink half-year B6 size that I'm in right now. I also have another sterling ink B6, and this is the 5-year journal. I have been trying to use this. You may have seen I've done a couple posts. I know I just recently uploaded creating a couple of these little inserts. That was today's, so a Tuesday's video. And so I have those in there. I try to write little blurbs. I'm really bad at this. I don't end up doing a lot in here, not as much as I had hoped I would. I do occasionally write in it, but it's very sporadic. So I will keep trying to encourage myself to do more here. This is also where I'm keeping my Coffee Monster Co. Kind of bingo board, if you will, I think people have called it, with all the different people who have packed my orders. I've been very, very fortunate that I got the whole Tater family and then quite a few other Coffee Monster Co. Employees that have packed my different orders. So I keep track of that here. In the back, I have kind of bigger events or movies, things like that that I want to keep track of. I've done kind of scrapbook style back here. So this is very, very, very scrapbooky. And I just have a bunch of blank pages back here that I can use for that purpose. So I'm a little over a year and a half into this, and it's coming along quite nicely. I've used up quite a few of the blank pages, so I'm a little bit worried that I'm doing a little too much scrapbooking back here and that I'm going to run out of pages, but hopefully not. This is also where I keep my list of Shakespearean plays that I want to see. I have a little Life as an Adventure and all the countries that I would like to visit and all 50 states. So one of my goals is to visit all 50 states and as many countries as possible. So I have that in here to just kind of keep track of that. And then I have a little visual here as well. I have a bucket list tracker and then a bucket list that I created in 2024. And so I will record over here if it was started but not finished, or if I removed it entirely from the bucket list, started and will not finish. So this is kind of like DNFing a book, do not finish a book. Right now I only have one, and that was learning to scuba dive. I actually went for scuba diving lessons, and I really, really hated it. I was absolutely miserable, and so I started it, but I'm not going to be finishing it. And then anything that has actually been finished, and most of these are bigger items, so it'll take a while for them to be finished. But anything that has been finished is noted in pink. And so that is my 5-year journal. You can see the difference in size between this half-year journal and the 5-year journal. This would be significantly bigger if I was using it more often, like I probably should. This is pretty much everything that has happened. Everything I've done in this year has gone into one of these 2 books. And I use these sit on my desk. This one sits open on my desk. This one sits in vertical fashion. I have a little area of books that sit vertically on my desk. So this one is always handy to pull out as well. This is fairly new to me. This is my new I'm calling it my R&D notebook. So for next year, I did purchase the plans by Just Scribble in the 2-volume A5 size. Now that is a fairly new to me, well, I shouldn't say new to me. It's a size I haven't used in a while. I had gone to B6 for a while, I prefer the B6, but I am definitely a vertical weekly planner. And so the A5 is the one that I'm going to be using. I love that it is also half a year because I do get pretty chunky. But I am just using this to kind of, for example, this is this week, kind of seeing how I want to lay out a week in here. There are a couple things that I've added in here because I have some extra space. So I've taken my menu and I've moved it down here. I sometimes write in what I'm watching on TV in the lower space. I think I would love it at the bottom. I saw somebody do this in a post on the Coffee Monsters Co. group, and I wanted to try it out. This is my place to try those things out. So I can see how well I like this compared to what I'm doing now. So we can look at that exact same week. Again, we planned this together. So this is nothing you haven't seen before. But, you know, here's the week planned, and here's the trying out something new. Now, I've been writing these YouTube video titles somewhere else on scratch paper, but I thought it might be really nice to have them also on the day. So that was a difference from here. I don't have that in here because that's not been part of my planning style before. I am tracking reading, but I'm tracking it back here, and it's not part of my kind of day-to-day tracking, but I would love it to be because it would keep it more at the forefront. I also have a watch list, so I'm tracking what I'm watching, but I don't necessarily know when I watched it. So again, this would be really nice to have. And a sleep tracker would also be really nice because my sleep is sometimes all over the place. So I've never really had room for one of those because I've always had my menu. So it would be nice to have that. And then some of the main weekly tasks that I really want to make sure I accomplish, I could put here and then have my Alistair method here. Anyway, this is research and development. This is something that I am playing around with. You know, sometimes it's sketchy, sometimes it's a bit more colored and figured out. It just depends on my mood and what I need to be figuring out. I purchased this just at the beginning of August with the intention of doing this with it, trying it out. Now, ultimately, once I get everything figured out, this will become my new scratch paper. However, right now my scratch paper is an old Hobonichi. This was from 2022, and I really just, you know, I tear things out of it. Sometimes I need, you know, a piece of paper for something else. I may take notes in it. I wanted to try out writing minions like that. So I may try some things. Occasionally I will test out pens in this because it is Tomoe River paper. So this just becomes kind of a book to play around again in. Since I'm not going to be going back to this layout, I'm not really concerned about preserving the layout in any way, shape, or form. But if I need scratch paper or something to write on, since my fountain pen is really the most accessible pen to me at all times, I like writing on fountain pen friendly paper. So I have this. Eventually it will be replaced with this, but that's what those are for. They're for anything that I need to do that's super messy that I know I'm not going to keep. Goes in this Hobonichi, and then anything I'm trying to figure out about next year goes in here, and ultimately it will also become just a messy journal, or a place to be messy. If I need a very broken down list for a day, that's also a good place for that. One of the other things I have, and I just broke it, is I have this journal. This is an Archer and Olive bullet journal, and my intention with this was to have a reading journal. I do not love the square size. I think it's a little awkward for me. I had all kinds of grand plans for this. I started off really strong. You may have heard me talk about this before when I was talking about the Magical Readathon, but I just really have abandoned this. I haven't done anything in it since about June of 2024, maybe July. So it's been over a year. I don't see myself getting back into this. And so I will probably just either take the pages out and archive it and give it to, or give it to one of my grandkids so that they can play with it. But I ultimately don't think I will keep trying to make myself use it. I think I need to find a way to incorporate all the reading things into my regular journals. But that is currently part of my ecosystem, so we'll talk about it. I got these two out because this is very much still a part of my ecosystem. So one of you guys asked a question during the live stream about, Keisha asked, I think it was during the live stream, or it might have been in a comment, about what if there are things that I know I'm going to keep using. And the thing is, I still have access to all of my journals from even before this one. And they have notes if I want to find notes on particular books I read, if I want research, if I want to look up how to carb cycle. I have notes in all of these from way back when. It was my journal. I did use it for a normal, bullet journal. But I did also take notes in it. And so I can always look back at these and reference these. I do also, the Hobonichi was the same way. I used this for memory keeping, like I'm currently doing in my 5-year. And this I miss. I miss feeling like I have room to talk about the day. I don't really feel in the Sterling ink that I have room to devote like a whole page to a day, because there are so many other things that come up and I feel nervous about using too much space. And so I don't do this very often. However, I really like looking back on these. They're fantastic. But then I also have regular journaling. I have, work. I have little quotes that I liked. I have notes on things. I have what I'm reading, what I'm listening to. The fact that it was National Taco Day. Today is National Taco Day. Excellent. So that's coming up on October 4th. So if I didn't know that, and I happen to be looking through this journal, which I am with you right now, I know that that is going to be something I probably want to put on my calendar because that was fun. I used this when I got this Hobonichi. I got it in I didn't get it at the beginning of the year. So I got it in April, I believe. Maybe May? Maybe June. So then I used earlier pages for lists, packing lists, things like that, or just rough notes. But again, these are all things that I can look back on. So this information is not lost. It is just in a different place. There's a very nice quote. I'm going to take out my everyday journal because I wrote it down in here that I just recently heard, and I don't want to get it wrong. It says, "Your mind is for having ideas, not storing them." And I am very much a big believer in that. I do not like to rely on my brain to remember things. So the fact that I can go back and look at all of these and very, very quickly find whatever I need to find, this is very indexed. Some of it's fun. Some of it is important things I might want to reference. Anything, I color coded my indexes when I used Hobonichi. So they have, I can quickly find information because of the color coding. But the whole year is like that. Now, this journal, I was going to take it through till April. I did not end up doing that. I ended up getting a new Hobonichi and starting with the January start that following year. So I do have a lot of room left in here. If I need to record something else, I can do that. So if I do run out of room in my sterling ink, I do have past journals that I can do something with. So that is not part of my current, I'm not currently adding to those, but that is something that comes into play because I do keep those. And I do want, as we start talking about these, which are more longer term journals, I do want you guys to keep in mind that I keep all of my old journals, and so I still have that information. I don't necessarily have to repeat it anywhere. But these are my kind of specialty, I call them my specialty journals. I will start with this one because I know you guys have seen this in the past. So I have pen swatches here. I have fountain pens that I've written with. I kind of gave up on that after a little while. But my idea was that I was going to swatch all of my inks in here. And then I also have the Tombos by color and then by set. So even if I didn't necessarily buy the set, if I have all of the colors in a set, I will put them here. That way, if somebody says, "Oh, hey, that set, that pen from that set," then I can look in here and go, "Okay, well, I know what the green was in the Desert Flora set. I know which pen that was." So anyway, that's what that's for. I have some personal information in here, and then I have the washi swatches. You guys have gone through these with me. Those are really fun to just thumb through and look at. And then I also have swatched all of my stamps. I have a lot of Coffee Monster Co. stamps. And one thing I'm getting volume 8, I believe. That's coming. But anyway, I stamp them all in here just so that I know what I have. I am very, very bad about getting out stamps. It is something that I would like to be better at using. All of these stamps were made by taking the stamp. I'm going to do this with one of my weather stamps as an example, I think. Or, let's see. Oh, I got a little yoga mat stamp here. And I've got this scrap piece of paper. So what I do is I take the Tombow and you color the stamp really well with the Tombow, and then you can stamp it. And that way you get a nice clear image, and you can use whatever color Tombow you want to use to match whatever you happen to be putting in your week or month or what have you. One of my little tips, I don't own a stamp pad. I haven't for quite some time, so all of these were stamped in all these different colors just using Tombow markers. So that is what is in this book. That is all that is ever in this book. You know, I collect pens, I collect washi, I collect stickers. Clearly, I collect stamps as well. And so this is just kind of a record of all of that. Let's see, this is a kind of typical commonplace book. If I have recipes that I like, that I know I've made, that I want to make again, I will include those in here. I watched a YouTube video about a Three Sisters garden. I thought it was interesting, so I just did a little note in here on that. I keep my fountain pen. My fountain pen inks are all swatched in here. I forget what page they're on. I do have everything indexed in the front also, again. So I can look up that all the inks I have are on page 12 and 13. One of the things I really didn't like is that this did not come with page numbers. So I've had to use these they're really nice stickers, but because you always want to put the page number in the same spot, these are bulking up the little corners here of the book, and I'm not loving that. I use this as a commonplace book, so any notes, anything that I think I might want to keep for a long period of time goes in here. This is not for temporary things. This is kind of an ongoing book. However, I will say, as much as I like having, for example, all of the fountain pen inks here, that is one thing I really enjoy. I actually prefer having these individual books that I can look through. I find I don't use this as much as I want to. I find that if I have a book with clear days and things like that, that I want to put most of this information that should probably go in here into there. So it doesn't get used very often. I'm only on page 47 of this whole book. And it has a lot of pages. This is just a Hobonichi notebook. So it is still the Tomoe River paper. I think I bought these in 2022. So it's the good Tomoe River paper. So I'm definitely going to keep it, and I will try to remember to keep using it, but I don't use it all that often. And then sometimes I do have notebooks that are for very specific purposes. So this one is for bus conversion stuff. This is just a dot grid paper. We purchased a bus a long time ago, and so I have drawn out layouts for the bus. I have recorded projects, things I want to do, what certain things would look like. The idea was that I could put all of my design ideas and all of my purchases and product numbers and all that stuff in this book, and I would have a record of everything that we did on the bus. So we have not started the conversion yet, so I haven't really found out if this is useful or not. I do like it. It is the larger grid, more like an Archer and Olive grid, but it's a lighter weight paper than that. I think it's a fairly inexpensive notebook, but I don't remember where I got it. I had it and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to put all the bus things in here. So anytime I have an idea for the bus, I will write something in here. And that's where the ideas live, so that when it comes time to get working on it, I will have everything in one place. So that's what that one is. This is my reading journal. This is something new that I started. I say that, and it's not a reading journal like the last one. This is notes from when I read. A lot of times if I'm reading nonfiction, I want to be taking notes about certain things that I'm reading. I've been using some stickers throughout, just kind of, they don't really have anything to do with what I'm actually writing, but it makes it pretty and it makes it something that I like to look at. For this, I have a little tab. These are just the Coffee Monster code tabs that everybody uses, and I have just whited out where it said like weekly, monthly, daily, because I didn't always use those. And I have written in what I need. In this case, it's number 1, and then I have an index. Here on the index, it'll tell me what the book is and what year I read it. Very, very simple. This is a sterling ink notebook. And this is a B6 size. I don't have it in a cover. I just have some stickers on it. And this lives on my desk with the book that I'm reading. So whenever I pick up the book to read it, it's right there. And I can just take notes in there. I don't necessarily know that I'm going to need all of my book notes later on. I may never even look at them again. I don't know. But if I know that I've read a book and think that there might be notes on it, I want to have a place to look that up. So that was the solution I came up with. This one is a canning book. So I do a lot of canning. I like to write recipes down for canning and then notes about what worked and what didn't work. But I do not want to take my main journal into the kitchen because things like this happen in the kitchen. In this case, I think I was making cherry jelly, and I have this note here when it says stir consistently, do it, because you get splatter messes like this if you don't. But this is exactly why I do not want to take my main journal and have it sitting right by the stove. Now, when I'm canning, I want to look at things 5, 6, 7, 8 times just to make sure I'm doing it exactly right, because I do not want to make my family sick from anything that we are consuming. And so I will copy from whatever canning resource I got. I will copy in the information into here, and then I can take this and have it on the stove with me, or near the stove with me. So that's all this is. I used to have canning notes in a spiral notebook, just a regular, school type spiral notebook. But I had this little, it's from Hobonichi. This was from 2022 also. This is an A6 size, and I happen to have this lying around, so I decided to use this one. I do have a plastic cover on this one because mess in the kitchen, and so it does have a pen loop, but I don't usually keep a pen in there. I just keep this kind of handy. It's easy to grab. It's quick. It's bright yellow, so I don't lose it, because I might lose this, especially if it's moving from room to room. But with it being bright yellow, I don't lose it. And then this is my little precious, and I'm not going to open this, but I am working on a novel, and I have been working on it for a long time. And this is the book that I keep all the information about that in. It is from a company called Cafe or Nanami Paper, made in Japan. Cafe Note. It is, let me see if I can go to the back here. This is also Tomoe River paper, very much the same thing that's in a Hobonichi or a sterling ink. So this is the paper that I'm used to using, and the texture and feel that I'm used to. So I don't have any friction to using it. I do keep a little pilot razor point tucked in here so that, I can, well, this predates my fountain pen era, and so I just always have kept a pen in there. In this case, this is also an A6 size, but as you can see, it's a lot thicker than my Hobonichi notebook. In here, I'm just writing. I don't use stickers. I have one sticker on the front. That's it. It is not pretty. It is notes on, I can read you what the tabs say, but I have notes on people, places, the main plot, subplots, and then just a place to do brainstorming or jot down ideas that I have about things that I might want to incorporate later. And then an index. The index I haven't really used because it doesn't have page numbers. So I find that I just turn to the section and look through what's in the section. And again, I'm not going to go in there, but it's still pretty thin because I only write in it. I don't put any ephemera or anything else in it. And so it's not been fluffing up like you'll see a lot of things like, the Hobonichi fluffs up a lot. And even more so on the bottom because I usually put washi at the bottom of the page. This is not fluffing up because I'm just writing in here, and I'm not writing with a hard pen, and so it's not fluffing up. Neither is this one really. So even though I'm writing in here, I have added a couple stickers of canning days. But these I will not put as much sticker or anything else in, so they're not really as fluffy. So that is my books and my ecosystem of planners. So I've got, these are special collections, I'm going to call them. I have my commonplace, bus book, notes from when I'm reading, canning, and my notes on what I'm writing. I do also have, I guess this belongs in the collections, just washi pens and all those. I have my history. These are the books that I look to for things that I've done in the past, notes that I want to look up from the past. I have books that I'm not really using anymore, but that I can use for research and development. I can also use these to try out, any new things, or just a scratch paper. Sometimes it's nice just to have scratch paper around the house, and then you realize later on that you actually need the thing you wrote on the piece of scratch paper that you threw away. So in this case, I don't throw away my scratch paper. I still have it. And so I can look up and find the thing if I really need to. It's hard to find because I will just open, if I need to write something, I'll just open to a blank page. I don't necessarily know what page I'm opening to and what I'm writing, but I do have that. So if I ever need to find something from scratch paper, I can. And then I do have my 2 main journals that are kind of my everyday, and they will eventually migrate into these past journals. I do only keep the fancy cover on the current journals that I'm using. So this cover will come off when I store the sterling ink, and I will just store it in a clear plastic cover like this Hobonichi. When I used to use the Leuchtturm, I didn't, because these are hardcover. I didn't feel like I needed to put a clear cover on these. So anyway, that is everything in my notebook planner ecosystem. I hope you guys really enjoyed this walkthrough. I hear this is a popular thing to do, and although I do not consider myself trendy, I feel like if it's popular, it's probably because people are really interested in finding out how people use their notebooks. I did not go out and buy all of these notebooks at once. I acquired them one or two at a time. I think when I bought my first Hobonichi in 2022, I purchased quite a few other things because, like these notebooks, because the shipping was so good. And I had tried a Hobonichi. I had actually printed out pages from one to see if I liked it. And so I knew that I liked the grid size. I knew that I was going to be really happy writing in it. And so I didn't feel bad buying a couple extra notebooks at that time. Typically, I get one set per year and that's it. And then I only get a notebook if I really need one, or if it's something is on a great sale, a closeout, things like that. This is an irregular or, misfit. And it was because of this little itty bitty, I assume, this little fold here in the bottom. So this was very discounted because of it. Now, you would never know. I may have done that on my own. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy a whole set of notebooks to do all of the things all at once. I would suggest starting in one notebook. Pick something that is going to do the most good for you, something that you're going to use more often than any of the other things, and start with that, and then work your way up to other notebooks as they make sense. It is very easy to get overwhelmed with so many places. I would find the best course of action would be to have everything in one place, so you have one clear place to look for everything. And then, for example, if I have notes in here that I have made about what I'm writing in my novel, I'm going to have to then copy them from here into here. And that's just extra time and work and effort. Now, I don't mind doing that because I like the system the way I have it, but if everything is in one book, it is sometimes easier. So don't overwhelm yourself. Start small. Start with what you need to keep track of, whatever that is in your life, and work on trying to get everything out of your mind and onto some form of paper, electronic, or something else. It really frees up the mind and allows your mind to work better because it's not worried about trying to not forget all of these things. My brain isn't worried about trying to forget that paddleboarding trip that I went on because I can look in here and find the paddleboarding trip. And so I know where that information is. And as long as my brain knows where it is, it doesn't feel like it has to remember it. And that is the main goal of all of this. I don't have to remember where I'm supposed to be on a daily basis because it's all in my daily planner. I don't have to remember canning recipes because and what I may have tweaked or changed or how our family likes it because I have them in here. That is the main point of all of these, is to get that information out of my brain so that my brain can work on the things that I need it to work on. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this overview of my planning ecosystem. And if you have one, I would love to hear what it is. I would love to hear how you use all of your notebooks. And maybe someday I'll get into how computer programs play into this system as well, because I do also keep certain information on the computer. But for right now, this is what I keep on paper. If the computers went down, I could function pretty well. I would be all right. it would be a shock, but I would be all right. I would be able to function for quite some time. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you guys again tomorrow. Bye.